guys, welcome back to our channel. Yeah, say hi, Summer. You're not having it. Okay, he's not having it. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about vulnerability. What does it mean to be vulnerable? Who are you vulnerable with? Who should you be vulnerable? Who shouldn't you? Why is it even important? What does it even mean? Let's get on with today's video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to this video. What does being vulnerable mean? Vulnerability means Google and any other definition means to expose yourself to risk. It is to expose yourself it's to expose yourself to some weakness that a person might attack or a person might harm. That's what, like, the general definition of it. What does it mean in relationships? It means basically the same thing. It means that you have now opened yourself up to you've exposed yourself to certain places which you do not open and do not share with everyone, and whoever that comes into that certain place has potential of attacking you. If it's you exposing that you are maybe afraid of the dark, the one person who could harm you with the dark is basically a person who knows that you are afraid of whatever. I'm so sorry, it's so loud. I'll just wait a few minutes and continue with this. I'm back with a jacket. It's actually quite cold. The last days of winter. Anyways, let's get back into vulnerability. I said it's exposure to risk and it's exposure to harm. That's how general vulnerability is defined. But in relationships, it's basically you exposing yourself, it's you speaking your truth, and it's you showing your partner that this is who I am, this is what I am, and there is no other thing other than this. You show them your deepest self and your truest self. So why is it important? How is it important in a relationship? How do you actually define and continue with vulnerability, and define when do you become vulnerable? Relationships, vulnerability is important in order for you to not feel isolated, in order for you not to feel lonely whilst in a relationship. Because if a person is not honest and vulnerable and exposing themselves to you, that person will not be emotionally available. For us females, especially for me, if the person is not available emotionally and not in touch with me in terms of their truest self, it's even hard to even tap into my physical self, which would be hard to be intimate with that person. But let's go back to the risk. There is a risk with being vulnerable. You can't be vulnerable with anyone and everyone. Cannot be vulnerable with every person that you meet, or you shouldn't be vulnerable with somebody just because you want to be honest and truthful. You have to read the room with everything that you do. What do I mean by reading the room? In a relationship, when you meet somebody, you can't just come to them and tell them all your baggage. A person needs to earn ukuba vulnerable kwakho. You have to earn ukuthi this person is kind, this person wants to be with me, this person wants to see this side of me. Too much too soon equals a disaster. I heard that from Dr. Van Moody. He says this when he speaks of relationships. You build on uguti this is me, this is what I am, this is what I do, and this is all that I am. You don't just wake up, meet a person, and you start exposing yourself. When I started work, the only thing that they knew about me probably was my qualification, where I'm from, age, and all of that. As we grew into work, they now started knowing, who am I dating? How many times do I see this person that I'm dating because they are there? Even in relationships, when you meet a person, when I met my partner, he just knew my name, my age, and when we started speaking for a whole year before even meeting yeah, I think we started speaking in January 2018 and only spent time together the following year. Would not even spend time but speak. Like we sat in the car for almost an hour speaking for the first time a year later. But we were speaking like before before that day, and we were building. But even at that time, he was not yet exposed to my true self. Yes, he was exposed to Guti. I laugh too much. He was exposed to Guti. I talk too much. But he was not exposed to what actually is the core of me. And even in the first month, maybe yes, he was exposed to different things, but he had to earn konko. He had to earn Guti know about my childhood. He had to earn to know about my all of my all of my truths, all of my flaws. If you expose that person too soon, the person that you meet too soon, you're going to find yourself at a risk of that person using that against you, of that person using that to harm you in certain ways. You are vulnerable and honest. You expose yourself to that person loving you at your truest form. I mean, my partner knows. Yeah, I know. I speak about my partner all the time because I'm at my truest self there. He knows how I like being loved. He knows how what I like, what I am. And he, as I just said, did not hear and know about that just because he's a person that I know from South Africa. No. He earned the right of knowing this is how I grew up, because we have spent so much time together that he now knows which this is how I act. This is why I act this way, because this is how I grew up. This is how he acts this way, because this is, you see, you get to earn those things. And when you are truthful, you are then exposing yourself to the truest form of love. You're exposing yourself to somebody being honest and giving you their best self. If you are not honest and if you are not vulnerable, you are going to be constantly lying and checking in with yourself. Am I actually in line with what I said? With me not being vulnerable, with me not being the best thing that this person could be. If you are vulnerable, you actually save yourself from being in a relationship forever that is not gonna go anywhere, or being in a relationship where once you actually settle down with the person, it goes south because you were so busy acting as something else when you're actually not. I mean, like at this point, I don't think there's anything new that could show. Probably Guti, I sleep till 11. Weekend I sleep till 11. So it would be things like that, but he knows and has heard about those things. But when I get an anxiety attack, certain parts of my body would shake. I'll speak about my anxiety at some point, but on this channel, again, you guys have to earn my trust. But I have spoken about it in my blog, but here I will do a video or a story time about it some other time. Even speaking like this, I did not just start with speaking. I started with working out, and at this point I now trust my audience enough to expose myself to how I think, how I speak, and you earn that. And if you go around giving people too much too soon, you are basically putting yourself to a disaster. People who get into relationships first week in, I love you. Really, not even first week. Umuntu uqala wayeshela ngokuthi athi umuntu ngiyakuthanda. Hayi. Kwazi kwashesha bo. And those people who do that to you are usually people that are not truthful. And once they start becoming truthful, that's when you start saying akasangithandi. But no, he's now exposing himself ukuthi this is what I am, this is what I actually am like. But when usuzitshela ukuthi hayi sekudlalwa ngami kanti cha imali sesiveza ke ubiyena what athi umuntu waphenduka isilwane. No, they now started being vulnerable. Ukuthi yena, he suffers from anger issues. He did not deal with that at the surface because the person was not vulnerable, he was not honest. Be careful of people who are not honest. Be careful of settling down. Be careful of moving forward with people that are not honest and open about who exactly they are. Finally, let's do 5 things or 5 ways that you you are going to be vulnerable and how to actually become vulnerable. The first thing that you need to do to yourself and with yourself is actually know who you are. Know exactly what you are, because you can't be honest and share with people if ungazazi ukuthi who you are, if you don't know who you are and what you are what you are about, and what are the things that matter to you. You need to truly know. So as the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you want honesty, if you want to be honest and truthful to people, you have to actually fill yourself up enough in order for you to be able to now share Guti, this is what I like. You need to be honest about Guti, this is honest about how you feel. Tell a person if you Guti they hurt you, Guti, I actually didn't like, and tell them at that moment. I'm that person who will tell you at that moment, Guti, this actually hurt me. Sometimes it might come out not nicely. I need to work on that. But I'll tell you, Guti, okay, I actually didn't like this. It hurt me. And in that sense, you show up to that person vulnerable. You tell them, Guti, this is how I feel. And if they're making you happy, tell them. Be bold, be loud about how you feel about a person. Do that. In that sense, you are vulnerable. You are then opening for them as well to come to you and tell you, this is how I feel. In that sense, you are now building a good foundation. You are building a nice thing for your relationship, man. And if you are honest about who you are, and you're honest about how you feel, that person is also going to feel that way. Imagine what's that going to do for your relationship. How are you going to begin with this if you actually never done it in your relationship? The only thing you'll speak about are memes and games. You start slow. What do I mean by starting slow? You start by speaking about your day at work. Everyone speaks about their emsebenzini, this is how everything was going on at work. So you start slow. You speak about work. You speak about school if you are a student. You speak about your fears of exams that are coming up. You speak about those things. You start there. You start at the lawas kon guti, where you know that even if this person knows guti work is this way, I've actually exposed myself too soon, or exposed myself to somebody who I'm actually not supposed to expose myself to, you basically now firstly just still testing the waters. So when you are testing the waters, you start with the surface stuff. You start with the things that it won't really hurt you that much, that they actually come out. And then the next thing you do is do that, like share your moments in a day. In a day you have such a long day. If I'm walking down the road and seeing Guti, here's a person who's funny, I'm going to pick up my phone immediately and share with my partner, because I'm sharing in the moment. I'm sharing how my day is. In the same sense, in the same style, he also does that. When he sees something crazy, he's telling me. When he hears something crazy, he's telling me. In the same, if I'm not open to that, if I'm not open to doing life that way with him, he's probably also not going to do that. So that's the next thing that you do when you are being vulnerable. The final part and the final way which you'll be vulnerable is you actually owning up to your mistakes. When you are vulnerable, when you own ukuthi wenzile iphutha, when you own ukuthi you were wrong, when you own that your judgment was flawed at that time, when you own ukuthi you might have done something wrong, you actually expose yourself and expose your partner to a nice place where they too are going to say, actually, I was wrong in doing this, so I should actually be open to my partner as well. And whilst you're still starting slow, while you are honest, you have to actually be open about why you're actually afraid of being vulnerable, because some of us are afraid of being vulnerable because of certain things. If you're not open about the reason why you are vulnerable, your partner is going to feel isolated. They're going to feel as if they're not as important unless you tell them. I actually don't like sharing because maybe this is what happened in the past. I actually don't like sharing because I don't think you'd stay for forever with me, or you'd stay for as long as I need you. You see, if the person is honest about their fears of vulnerability, you are actually then together in a partnership, able to say, okay, we need to work on, we need to now work on the fact that he thinks I might leave. Then your partner and your relationship, you're now working on Guti, I'm actually not going anywhere. Because guys are afraid of being vulnerable. If Guti, the lack of vulnerability is because maybe there's somebody else, you're actually even going to find out things like that. Guti, the reason why they're actually afraid of sharing these things with you, it's because they're actually sharing them with somebody else and they actually don't want to share them with you. So if that's the case, you know, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. But if you don't share those things, if you don't share the reason why the person is afraid, or you are afraid of being vulnerable, you basically going to leave your partner in the dark. And a partner who's in the dark would usually put you in a situation where your relationship ends. So with that being said, I have rambled and spoken way too long, and I'm getting cold. Do yourselves a favor and be vulnerable, and tell me how it goes. Do share with me the reasons why you've actually not been vulnerable in the relationships that you've been, and tell me how you actually dealt with rejection, because it could be vulnerable and the person rejects your vulnerability. And even if they don't reject it in the sense of, hey, I don't want to talk about this, but you're vulnerable and the person says, ish, hectic. What did you do? What happened? Do share on the comments below, and I'll see you on my next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and just send me questions on my Instagram. By the way, this was inspired by something that was sent on my Instagram. That's why I decided to speak about vulnerability here. So do give me more ideas. I'll see you on my next video. Bye guys.